Joining us now is RBC Global's global head of strategy, Helima Croft. Helima, always good to have you. Obviously, your knowledge of the region is so deep. So let's just start off on, if the Israelis do attack the oil production facilities of Iran, what do you think? What do you think the impact ultimately would be on oil prices? And I'm curious you're giving your experience as well as to whether you think they would be successful.
I think the real question is, what would the Israelis target? Would they go after the all-important Karg Island facilities? That is Iran's main export terminal. 90% of Iranian exports leave that facility. During the Iran-Iraq War, the Iraqis actually targeted ships going to that facility. Or do the Israelis target refineries and limit the impact on global markets? We could expect the White House would be encouraging the Israelis to think more about refineries and not something that would actually pull barrels off the market. But that said, if they go for Karg Island, if Iranian oil exports are really impacted, obviously you'd be talking about Brent prices probably back up into the 90s. The question really would be then, would the White House be able to appeal to countries with spare capacity, countries like Saudi Arabia, to put more barrels on the market? And what would the Iranians do in retaliation? They've talked about this morning going after Israeli natural gas facilities. Would they potentially target other regional energy facilities, in the Persian Gulf? So a lot is at play, and the market is reacting to the fears of a significant supply disruption.
Yeah. Well, give us a sense. The Iranians were not producing much oil that many years ago. They've obviously moved production up. Most of it going to China and India, correct?
China is the principal buyer of Iranian barrels, but we've seen Iran, as you mentioned, 5 years ago, we saw more significant sanctions enforcement. Now we have Iranian oil at about a 6-year high. And so I do think the White House is now talking about potentially tougher sanctions enforcement in an effort to maybe get the Israelis to hold their fire. But we would be potentially talking around, 1.7 million barrels a day of exports if a major terminal is hit. And again, I think the bigger question would be, would the Iranians in turn look to target, for example, ships in the Straits of Hormuz? They did that in 2019. They hit tankers off the coast of UAE. Would they go after major pipelines in the region? They certainly retain the capacity to do damage to regional energy infrastructure. The question is, what would be on their target list?
How would you characterize the capacity constraints or lack of constraints for OPEC Plus? Do they have the ability to expand production if there's a sizable amount that goes offline from the Iranians?
One country has the ability to bring on significant volumes of crude quickly. If you want to get a million plus barrels from a country, it's going to be Saudi Arabia. Now, Saudi Arabia has been talking about phasing back in their 1 million barrel a day voluntary cut. That's outside the collective cut agreement, which extends through 2025. So I do think that amount would potentially be in play, depending on the size and the duration of a disruption. I think all OPEC members are going to be sort of in a watch and wait mode to see the scale of any disruption. But I don't think they want to basically break up the agreement, the collective agreement that extends through year end 2025.